Welcome back to THC, the Highdeas channel. I'm the Hefe Hippie, and today we review Barbenheimer, Barbie movie, and the Oppenheimer movie that just came out a few weeks ago. It was a big craze about it. People went and watched it back to back. I said, "Are you crazy? Y'all sat and watched 5 hours of a movie?" But then I took the task today, and I too sat and watched both movies back to back. So let's jump into Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was a really good movie. Deep cast. It was beautifully shot. Basically, to keep a 3 hour movie short, it was a narration between two men to get to the truth of what actually happened during the building of the atomic bomb. And you have Cillian Murphy's character, who's Oppenheimer. All of everything you see with him from his point of view is in color. And everything you hear and you see from Robert Downey Jr.'s Louis Strauss character is in black and white. And Strauss he's being questioned by the Senate about tactics used on Oppenheimer in a meeting. They're asking about not just the tactics that was used in this little small, with the other side of this movie where you'll see Oppenheimer and being questioned by this small group of people, but also just his background. Did he know what Oppenheimer's ties were to the Communist Party, if there were any? Was he a loyal citizen to America? Things like that. So it's going back and forth trying to explain the story. And, they show a beginning scene of his early life when he was around 22 as an understudy, where he got upset with the man for belittling him and kind of making him the butt of the class. So Oppenheimer had put some cyanide in the apple, and I guess he went to the meeting. He, I guess, impressed. He impressed, I think his name was Niels Bohr. He impressed him so much so that by the time he had came back to retrieve the apple, he was there. And you kind of see there in that moment between the dialogue between the two that Oppenheimer was an assertive, very sure of himself guy. And he was going to get what he wanted regardless. He was going to get it. Whether he had to ask the same question 10 times or, he was going to go all the way. So the guy basically said that he should go to Germany and study the theoretical physics. So that's what he ended up doing. Doing all this. He had his brother was a part of the Communist Party at one point. I believe he did get out. His wife that he ended up getting with, Kitty Pointing. I cannot get that last night. It cannot roll off the tongue. Pointing. That's like I'm pointing at you. Pointing. All right,
bomb or
she
gadget
was an
in the desert of the Alamogordo bombing poetry.
Communist
Batter
of
my
the Communist
heart,
Party.
three-personed God. Elsie.
The woman that he was dealing with first, Jane Tatlock, who later committed suicide, she was of the Communist Party, and they had a sexual relationship. And the reason why their relationship couldn't really progress is because, couldn't progress, is because of that. She was in the Communist Party, and he's this guy who's been brought in on this top secret mission to beat the Nazis. Beat oh yeah, beat the Nazis to making this atomic bomb, to making this mass weapon of destruction. So, he brings her flowers. She doesn't like the flowers. She's mad that he doesn't know what to do, like what she wants from him. She calls him. He tells her, I'm always going to answer if you call. So that's just something, like, if she calls him, he goes to her. And even once he's married, she calls one night, he goes to her. They sleep together. He tells her he can't keep doing this. He then finds out that she ends up killing herself. And his wife finds him, and he's down and sad, and he tells her what happened, and she's just like, man, you better don't play the victim after you didn't call, what you've done. So get it together. Very strong wife. Very strong. But it's going back. You got Downey Jr. basically acting like he don't know what's really up with, like, he's trying to keep his hands clean. Like, with certain questions, he's saying what he knows, but he's not telling everything he knows. Oppenheimer, they recruited all these scientists. They created this thing. They tested it. It worked. Immediately, they wanted, who was the president? Was it Truman? Truman, he ordered the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and 200,000 people were the casualties of that, of such, of war, which is such a moral, like, man, like, how do you sleep at night knowing that you've taken innocent lives, people who had nothing to do with this fight, and it haunted him. And it's sad to see him being interrogated, basically, and having these people try every underhand tactic. Took his clearance, take his credibility, and just make him look overall like a bad guy, like a traitor. And Downey Jr.'s character, Strauss, made a mistake when one of the guys called him out, and he basically told him that he set all this up because Oppenheimer embarrassed him at some hearing or so, and he never let go of it. And he spent years, or like this whole time, just manipulating people and working to get him to lose his clearance and his credibility and his name. This is a man that was called the Father Bomb, the American Prometheus, a man that created a weapon that will ultimately destroy us.
Be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death."
That's his legacy. That's an interesting legacy. I was thinking, where's his grandchildren? Where are they? Are they around? They probably went back to, well, maybe not. But ultimately, in that ending, the truth was revealed. There were spies involved. There was a lot of things going on, but they didn't, obviously they couldn't show, I mean, they could have, but they didn't show like the bomb being dropped on Hiroshima or whatever. You heard the results over the radio. Overall, man, it made me want to look into him and and know more about him. This guy had immense power. He reminds me of my man who built the jail, his own jail. He built his own city, his own town. He had power. You have to have power to have the military be willing to bend at anything, any whim. He wants a town. So move all the scientists and the families. He had a town. A jail is one thing. He had a town. Of course, all great and brilliant men have their troubles, have their quirks. They're a bit crazy in their own way, even though their brilliance is what makes them known. They have their own issues. He had his own issues. None of us are perfect, but I did enjoy the movie. It didn't wear me out. I thought it was, like I said, it was beautifully told. I just think, like, man, if put in that position, are you able to make that call? That is a call that you once made is something that can't go back. And the results you have to live with. I can't judge him because I wasn't put in his position, but I know that I would not be able to sleep. But it was a tremendous movie. And I would give it 4.5 out of 5. I pretty much loved that movie. It was really good. It's a good historical revisiting. If you want to, if you're into that type of thing, into historical movies. And so yeah, check out Oppenheimer. If you want to wait for it to come out on digital, on sure. But when it comes out, make sure on a Friday night, you and your girl, y'all sitting down, maybe you and the kids, give them some little history lesson, and check it out. Also, I want to say the way that Harry S. Truman was portrayed, he came off like a a-hole. He was, I don't know, hard-headed man. But yeah, Oppenheimer. But let's get to the shocker. The absolute shocker of the day. I actually watched the Barbie film. I watched it. I couldn't believe it. I had to see what was all the talk. My daughter's like, she hit me up. I'm like, you went and saw the movie without me? You're my reason for even seeing the movie. But I'll tell you this. I enjoyed the movie. It was fun. It was creative. It was also confusing. How can she get into the real world by the way of which she traveled through Barbie Land? Can somebody... I thought they was basically saying it's like an idea. So how were they going to an idea? It was like Barbie Land. It's not a real... Hey, whatever. It's a Barbie movie, whatever. But it was fun, man. Ken was a trip. He played the dumb role, but hilarious. It was just, I know like people who really grew up on Barbie, they love this. They had so many throwbacks. The jokes made about, like, the woman said she wanted to see Ken's, what did she call it? She wanted to see his blob, his nude blob under his pants. I died on that. They talking about pregnant Barbie and why she was discontinued. I mean, the beach off innuendo killed me. I mean, it was just a fun movie. Will Ferrell, he's a fool. John Cena popping up as the mermaid. It's this one part where when they were getting to the real world, Margot Robbie tells the guy that her and Ken doesn't have genitals, and Ken's like, "I got all the genitals." Like it was funny. It was a lot of grown jokes, obviously, because Barbie's set for older, I guess, older audience. But I thought it was funny. Like she would pour milk, but it wasn't no milk, and then she would put it in her mouth and simulate like she's drinking. But then in the real world, when they actually gave her like a glass of water and she did it, and the water hit her in the face, she's like, "Whoa, that's the first time I ever drunk." Like the first time that ever happened. It was just really cool things about the movie, man. I thought it was cool. The Mojo Dojo Casa house that Ken called his new house, the Mojo Dojo Casa house. I said, isn't all of those things about the same thing? A mojo is like dojo is like a hut, right? And then like a casa is a home, house. Dojo, right? Uh, I'm I'm just saying. It was funny, man. I enjoyed my boy. What's my man from Shang-Chi? Simi Lu, Simi Lu, Liu, Simi Liu. Sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. But thought he was funny. They went back and forth. Uh, Ryan Gosling and him. It was just a really cool and fun movie. Ultimately, Barbie one day woke up and she was thinking of death and she was like sad. And so, oh, and her feet went flat. So she went and visited Weird Barbie, who's always in a split and all beat all up or whatever to figure out what was going on. She tells her she has to go to the real world. They tell her, how am I supposed to get to the real world? And she tells her this crazy way of having a jet ski and rollerblade and have to fly and then be in sky and space and all this weird stuff. And she'll show up at the beach and she'll know what she's looking for. Ken tags along. Ken's in love with Barbie, but Barbie really just doesn't see him like at all. Like she thinks of him as just a friend. But they go and into the real world. Still don't know how that happened, but it did. They entered the real world. And they went looking for the girl. She thought it was she had like a vision of who the person was she was looking for, but it wasn't the girl she thought it was. It was the girl's mother, who was drawing like what was it, sad Barbie? What was it, miserable? What did she call that Barbie? It was she called that Barbie dang it, I can't remember what she called it. But it was like a sad Barbie, a depressed Barbie, and so that's why she was feeling that type of way. But Will Ferrell was like the CEO, so they trying to get her back in the box so they could take her back to Barbie Land, and they didn't care if Ken was out there. They like, we don't care about that. But while Ken was out there, he noticed, because in Barbie Land, all the Barbies run everything. In the real world, it's like the men. Don't get mad at me, ladies. I'm just saying what it showed in the movie. The men was running the world. So Ken took this patriarch, this patriot, what was it, patriarchal system, and he went back to Barbie Land and basically turned it to Kendom, whatever he called it. It was something ridiculous. So Barbie, she meets the girl and her daughter, and the daughter is very standoffish. They never really did explain why the daughter and the mom had like grew and like just tension between them, but I guess it just happens with age. And they end up going back to Barbie Land, running from Will Ferrell and them, and see that Ken has changed everything, and the women were like brainwashed, and they love doing things for the guys and cutting the steak and not having to think for themselves every day. And then eventually, who was the one? it was really funny when Barbie. Oh, she quit. Like she just gave up, and she like sat down. Her arms was like straight, and then she like sat with her legs. It was really funny. She fell over. It was like, you know how the Barbie couldn't bend, so it was really funny. But then they ended up snapping her out of it. Who was the one that? Oh, the woman finally gave her a reality check, like telling her about all the real life struggles that women got to deal with. So Barbie kind of, she's fired up. She brings like as she's keeping it real with the women, they're like coming out of the brainwash. They end up getting all the Barbies out the brainwash and voting to keep it Barbie land and overthrew Ken, not like beat him up or anything, but just reasoned with him in a sense and try to give Ken purpose. And ultimately, Barbie goes off into the sunset. But I mean, it's a goofy, funny, and I don't mean goofy in a bad way, like goofy, funny. It's a nice movie. It's a nice movie to watch with your daughters or just watch with your family or just watch in general. It was cool. You're going to laugh. Like, I didn't expect I was going to be in here laughing the way I did. It's not like I was dying, killing over, cracking up, but it was a funny movie. It was pretty decent, man. And I really thought that it was pretty. I would give it 4 out of 5 stars for what it was. She was very happy to go get her first gynecologic. We'll just take that out. But yeah, man. So the movie so far has made $1.1 billion, and Oppenheimer made $600 million. So I would say great successes. I mean, for Oppenheimer to even still racking $600 million after Barbie didn't had, it's Barbie. Like, I think that was a very successful weekend of movies. I think that if you do go and check these out, just go ahead and check them out on the weekend. Go ahead and watch them back to back. It's fun. I watched Oppenheimer first, and then I went to Barbie, so I can leave on like a positive note because I knew that he was about to kill 200,000 people. Yeah, but 2 good movies, 2 definitely different. Couldn't be any opposite of each other, but 2 enjoyable movies. Oppenheimer was really good, and Barbie was also the same. I can't say that they didn't perform. Not only in the box office, they performed to me. I thought they were legit, entertaining, and fun movies. If you like the content that we're doing here, please like and subscribe, and we shall see you soon. Last thoughts. There was foreshadowing early in Oppenheimer. I can't remember the direct quote or the exact part, but it was a part where Oppenheimer was trying to recruit someone, and he was saying, like, come on, man, like they need us. And the guy said to him, yeah, they need us until they don't need us. And when he said that, I was like, that sounded like some type of foreshadowing. Like, he's absolutely right. And they needed Oppenheimer for this miracle too. They was 2 years basically behind the Nazis in the arms race. I mean, on building this bomb. And he was able to get it done first. And once he got it done, then they almost turned it around on him and made him take a fall on false information that he was a communist or supporting the Communist Party and this and that. So it was really funny how everything did circle back around like the guy said.
Let's beach off.
Anyone who wants to beach him off has to beach me off first.
I will beach both of you off at the same time.
But you don't even know how to beach yourself off. How are you going to beach both of us
course
off?
I
It
know how
doesn't
to-
make sense.
Ken?
And
Why
you
are
can
you
beach
getting
yourself off.
emotional?
You're going to beach
Come
both of
on,
us
Ken.
off.
Nobody's gonna beach anyone off.